Now on Coast TV News.
Tropical downpours are possible today thanks to the remnants of what was Tropical Storm Chantal. A flood watch is in effect for the potential of very heavy rain and local flooding later today. I'll track the system coming up next.
Policy updates at the Millville Volunteer Fire Company. What's been done since a hate crime was made public? Waiting on the water, Grove Park Canal dock continues to remain closed after months of talks and tests. Surging waters, shifting loyalties, deadly flooding, tests federal response as Musk stuns with new political party announcement.
This is Coast TV News Today.
Good morning, I'm Elisa Weber. Thank you for joining us for our 6 o'clock hour on this Monday morning. We're now going to bring in First Alert meteorologist Bob Trahey. Bob, we are coming off of a beautiful weekend, but the weather is really going to change today.
Yeah, Lisa, it really was a gorgeous 4th of July holiday weekend and good timing with the nice weather. Now it's tropical moisture with the remnants of Chantal to our south and west. And we have some light showers moving into Sussex County right now around Georgetown, back through Selbyville, Angola by the bay. Nothing all that heavy. Looking pretty quiet from Salisbury to the coast right now. In the meantime, the eastern shore, you're seeing very heavy rain near Cambridge right now. And watch for flooding perhaps in poor drainage areas and low spots as this tropical moisture is surging from south to north. And here is Chantal, the remnants of it, right across the North Carolina-Virginia state line. You can see the spin here, and it's moving to the northeast and could give us those tropical downpours later today as the system will be tracking essentially right over the top of us. And with that, a flood watch for really much of Sussex County back into the Salisbury area and the eastern shore. Once again, that rain coming down in a short period of time with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. It's that air you can wear. Dew points also very high with light winds right now. So Futurecast showing us mainly dry through the morning hours. Then I think as we go into the afternoon, mid to upper 80s and then some heavier showers. Once again, you see these red areas, and that is torrential rain that will come down very fast. So keep that in mind in your travels. And then that should be swept out to sea as we go through the evening hours. I gave the yellow light for this morning for scattered showers, then the red light for those tropical downpours later on. And once again, flooding possible, especially in those low spots and poor drainage areas. More on this system coming up a little bit later on.
Thank you, Bob. Our top story this half hour, the Millville Volunteer Fire Company has made changes to its policies and is offering new training. This comes after police say 2 former volunteer firefighters, Jay Droney and Jordan Hastings, chased a paid employee with a rope tied into a noose. Gary Canitas with the Millville Volunteer Fire Company says the swift changes were made in hopes of avoiding a similar situation from happening in the future. According to Canitas, allegations came to light on April 9th and after an investigation. But by June 1st, 100% of career staff and 2/3 of the volunteer members completed training. He says 2 changes are key to handling these situations quickly.
One is giving the board the latitude to work a little bit faster for particularly egregious incidents. And then 2, giving people more avenues and mechanisms to report when they see any sort of discriminatory or harassing behavior.
And Canitas says the fire company will push forward after some reputation damage by remaining who they have always been, public servants. Happening today, Rehoboth Beach weighs future of beach nourishment projects. According to the agenda, in just a few hours, city officials will hear several presentations on the topic. Some of the issues these presentations will include are funding for beach replenishment, shoreline management, and the status of projects in the area. The mayor and commissioners will meet at 9 a.m. at City Hall. Next in Rehoboth Beach, the Grove Park Canal dock has been closed since February when a study was released saying the dock structure was unsafe. Since February and after multiple meetings between commissioners about the docks, the next step is still that it remains closed. But city officials tell Coast TV that a second study was done on June 30th to see where the structural damage currently sits. And the city tells Coast TV News the results of that study are expected to be presented today.
It's very frustrating because there are many folks that live here in Rehoboth and that visit here that expect to be able to use the Grove Park Canal dock for recreation and boating and just enjoyment.
Possible options floated by commissioners are small repairs to temporarily fix the dock, completely redo the dock, or take it down entirely. New this morning, the Milton Town Council is set to consider major changes to its rental property ordinance tonight. These changes would impact vacation stay places like listed on Airbnb and Vrbo. According to the agenda, town leaders will discuss and could vote on a resolution asking the Planning and Zoning Commission to prepare an advisory report on ways to regulate short-term rentals through zoning. One local we spoke with says some regulation would help.
I'm not against, the short-term rentals because, we have to have, it does stimulate the local economy to have that influx of people. But you don't want people coming in that are not respectful or conscious of the surrounding area.
And Barrett, who you just saw, says she thinks people looking to visit the coast or the beach will continue renting further from it based on prices. This town council meeting is tonight at 6:30 at the Milton Public Library. This just in, possible tax talks tonight in Millsboro. According to the agenda, officials will discuss a hotel tax ordinance. There's no word yet on what that ordinance would require. However, officials will discuss the topic at that town council meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. The District 20 special election is now just under 1 month away and is scheduled for August 5th. This comes after the resignation of former Representative Stella Parker Selby following her long-term absence, where she missed every single day of the legislative session this year. Democrat Alana Berry and Republican Nikki Miller will face off in that special election. Sussex County Republicans selected Miller as their candidate Wednesday. She lost to Parker Selby by just 275 votes in the 2024 general election. Berry, on the other hand, beat out 4 other Democratic candidates on Thursday. And if you want to vote early in District 20's special election, here's what you need to know. It starts July 24th through the 26th. That's a Saturday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There will be no voting on Sunday the 27th. It picks back up on Monday the 28th and the 29th with those same hours, 7 to 7. Then July 30th through August 3rd. That is a Sunday. Voting will be from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. According to officials, all of this takes place at Mariner Middle School. And for more on the candidates and the list of where you can find your polling location for the District 20 special election, you can head to CoastTVnews.com. Right now, rescue crews are desperately searching for survivors after Texas was pummeled by catastrophic flooding. While much of that water has receded, several areas have been decimated. At least 67 people have died, including 21 children, and emergency responders fear that number will continue to rise. Federal and local emergency responders are working around the clock searching for survivors. And we are now taking a live look at the White House this morning. The Trump administration on defense, with some officials in Texas criticizing the National Weather Service for underestimating the rainfall that led to that massive flooding. NBC's Alice Barr shows us around 80 people have died. More are missing, and the number continues to rise. The president says he will visit that area this week.
President Trump back in Washington pledging support for flood-ravaged Central Texas and planning to visit later this week.
I would have done it today, but we'd just be in their way.
While pushing back on questions about whether cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service.
They did not. They did. I'll tell you, if you look at that water situation, this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
That as critics called for an investigation into staffing levels at the offices responsible for issuing flood warnings.
I know there are a number of important vacant positions, and that I and others have been asking for some time how this affects our preparedness here and ability to give alerts.
The legislative director for the National Weather Service Employees Union said the offices did have enough meteorologists to respond, while raising concerns about unfilled senior positions. The National Weather Service released its timeline of alerts starting early Thursday and noting a 1:14 a.m. warning that triggered cell phone alerts. The White House saying the NWS did their job. While in Texas, the long and painful job to recover amid so much loss is just beginning. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Elon Musk said he is forming a new political party. The tech billionaire threatened to create the America Party if Congress passed and President Donald Trump signed into law his signature domestic policy bill. Musk once again criticized the legislation, saying the new law will bankrupt the country with wasteful spending. Musk said his new party will give people back their freedom since he believes the country is currently operating as a one-party system and not a democracy. It is unclear what steps Musk has taken to form a new political party. And we're just getting started in this hour of Coast TV News Today. We still have a lot more news to get to. Coming up, return from weekend festivities. We'll tell you what efforts Maryland authorities are taking to keep traffic flowing. And crosses across the country will show you the project raising awareness for an issue facing veterans. And UPS delivers major change. We'll tell you the big move UPS is taking relating to staff and why Teamsters Union is against the change. All that and more when Coast TV News Today returns.
Just about 6:15 on our Monday morning. Very muggy out there. Beautiful sunrise in Laurel right now. 77 degrees and maybe a few light showers across southeast Sussex County right now around Millsboro. Maybe a light shower near Pittsville, but the heavy rain eastern shore near Cambridge, Trapp as well. Watch for heavy rain and perhaps some flash flooding in this area as all this rain is moving from south to north. As we're watching the remnants of Chantal, that will be moving our way today, and that could cause some very heavy rain and flooding possible later today. Mid to upper 70s out the door and nearly matching dew points, meaning, well, it's very, very muggy. On Delmarva today along the coast, 83. So not the best beach day, but not the worst. And then mid to upper 80s inland and the eastern shore. Perhaps that very heavy rain with the remnants of Chantal later today.
Drivers should expect delays today as the Maryland State Highway Administration begins repairing two bridges in Salisbury. Work will impact parts of US 50 and Main Street over the Wicomico River. You can see that area on your screen right now. MDOT says all work is set to begin at 7 a.m. weather permitting. The agency says all construction is expected to be done by May of 2026. In Salisbury, storm drain maintenance on East Naylor Mill begins today. That's according to city officials. Crews will resume work today from 7 a.m. to 4:30. While a lane closure will stay in place, the city says only minor impacts to traffic are expected. A new study shows most Americans watch streaming services and far fewer subscribe to cable or satellite. The Pew Research study found 83% tune into streaming services, with Netflix and Amazon Prime Video leading the way. Researchers found only 36% currently use cable or satellite. The study says streaming use varies by age and income. UPS is offering buyouts to full-time delivery drivers for the first time in its 117-year history. In a statement, UPS says the move is the largest network reconfiguration in the company's history. The president of the Teamsters Union, which represents about 330,000 UPS employees, released a statement criticizing the buyout plan. The move comes months after UPS announced it was cutting roughly 20,000 jobs this year.
It's a beautiful start to the day across the coast. Tom and Razor Cam 78 in Lewis, but incredibly muggy out there with tropical moisture from what was Tropical Storm Chantal, and that could trigger some flooding later today. A yellow alert for that potential. I'll track the system coming up in 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
The time is now 6:19 and we are taking a live look outside in Lewis this morning. And Bob, when I walked outside, the air was so thick, I was like, oof, it was muggy outside. And today the big story is some rain that we're expecting with possible flood warnings.
Right, exactly, Elisa. And yeah, it's like walking into a wall of humidity out there with the tropical moisture. And yes, we do have that potential for flooding later today. And some places could actually pick up several inches of rain. That's possible with some of these downpours later today with the remnants of Chantal. So could be a serious situation for some as we go into the afternoon. Local flooding, very muggy. And then Tuesday, it's hot. It feels like maybe 106 in places with the possibility of severe storms into the evening hours. But we do have a flood watch. This is meaning the potential is there for flash flooding later on today. And this is for inland Sussex County from Selbyville up to Georgetown, Bridgeville, and Delmarva. This is also the case around Salisbury towards Pittsville. This flood watch goes until this evening at 5, and then for the eastern shore until 10 p.m. We're just seeing some light showers right now making their way out of Maryland into Sussex County near Millsboro. A couple of showers near the coast and maybe a light shower east of Pittsville right now. But the heavy rain is along the eastern shore near Cambridge right now, and west of Trapp, very heavy rain. So you really need to be vigilant today for rain to come down heavy at times, ponding on the roads, and some of those low spots flooding in a hurry. As we're seeing the rain moving from south to north, and here are the remnants of Chantal. Now moving right along the North Carolina-Virginia state line, moving to the northeast. So it's basically headed our way as we go through today. By 2 p.m., it's basically right over the Chesapeake Bay, and then mid-afternoon, late afternoon, right over the top of Delmarva. That's why we're concerned about the potential for flash flooding. Very humid to miserable, not only today, but really the rest of the week with a tropical air mass in place. Out the door, we're into the mid to upper 70s, so a very mild start. 77 Georgetown, 76 in Millsboro, and dew point temperatures in the mid 70s with the tropical air and a light southerly breeze. So let's walk you through it. I think this morning it's just a few showers across Sussex County. Now we see the heavy rain across the eastern shore. Some of these storms might be slow movers and back building storms too. That's why we're concerned about flash flooding. And then by 6:30, you see the heavy rain along the coast. And then I think we're done with it as we go through the evening hours. And then overnight, it's just warm and muggy into Tuesday morning, where we're into the mid to upper 70s. And then it's hot as we go into Tuesday afternoon with mid 90s, and then could see another round of storms. And those could give us severe weather as we go into tomorrow evening, and then just muggy after that. Marginal risk of severe weather, damaging winds, maybe some flooding and large hail as we go into tomorrow evening. And before the storms, it could be feeling as hot as 105 inland areas tomorrow. Then the rest of the week, we have a stationary boundary right over the top of us, so a stalled out front. That means more showers and storms, and localized flash flooding is certainly a possibility. Now, these are the rain totals over the next several days. Now, today alone, we could pick up 2 to 3 inches of rain, and then through the end of the week, maybe 3 to 4 inches. So really be careful out there. That's why we have that yellow alert today for that flash flood potential this afternoon. Paul Davis 7-day forecast, 94 Tuesday with the potential for evening severe weather, 90 Wednesday, then on and off showers and storms the rest of the week into the weekend, and highs in the mid 80s.
What started with 22 crosses in June ended up with 660 of them along Route 1 in Lewis. This is an effort to spread awareness for veteran suicides. The nonprofit organization 22 a Day goes to different locations across the country, placing 22 crosses a day for a whole month, leading to over 600 crosses in the end. While some crosses remain blank, others have names written on them by people who knew a veteran who took their own life. 22 a Day Secretary John Lucker says those crosses will go with them around the country.
When we saw the reactions that the people had, especially when they saw crosses with names on them, and it was no longer a statistic, but a matter of life and death for so many people, being able to contribute to saving lives is what keeps us going.
And according to Lucker, they plan to come back to Delaware next year in Millsboro to further spread awareness for veteran suicides. Up next, we'll show you a scary situation in Roxana that caused a minor pileup. Don't go anywhere. Just before noon Sunday morning, the Roxana Volunteer Fire Company responded to a 3-car crash at Lighthouse Road and West Line Road. Officials say first responders quickly arrived on the scene and assessed all vehicles involved. However, first responders said all people involved denied all evaluation. And we are now taking a live look at the Bay Bridge in Maryland. We see plenty of cars on that roadway this morning, possibly heading to work or maybe coming back from their holiday weekend vacation. And here is another view of a popular roadway. This is in Newcastle County, Interstate 95 and Route 1. Plenty of cars this morning. Here's another angle. Not too bad of traffic this morning, which is good for people traveling to work or coming back from vacation. And drivers heading to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge are getting a heads up on the best and worst times to travel today. The State Highway Administration says today is a good day to drive overall. The agency is stopping non-emergency lane closures through early Monday morning. They also have extra patrols in busy areas to quickly clear broken down cars and help with crash cleanup. And today, Bob's probably not the best beach day. Hopefully you got all of your beaching in this weekend because possible rainstorms are going to happen today, but better than over the holiday weekend.
True, very
Yes.
true. And be vigilant too to very heavy rain, that tropical-like rain this afternoon and this evening at the beaches. Fenwick Island and Ocean City, upper 70s and low 80s. UV index extreme, so we will see times of sunshine as well. Lewis, you're into the mid 80s today. Watch for heavy rain later today, and the same for Rehoboth as well. Rip current threat is moderate. On the Bayside, pretty stormy the next 3 days. 87 today in Cambridge. Watch for flash flooding. 94 on Tuesday, maybe evening severe weather and similar conditions in Crisfield. So very active weather. Much more on that and the latest on the remnants of Chantal to affect us later today, coming up in the next half hour.
And after the break on Coast TV News Today, Replenishment Review will tell you what could be in store for those projects in Rehoboth Beach. And offshore wind opposition will tell you what officials are set to discuss amid an ongoing lawsuit against those projects in Ocean City. And policy updates at the Millville Volunteer Fire Company, what's been done since a hate crime was made public. Coast TV News Today will be right back.
Now on Coast TV News.
Tropical downpours are possible today thanks to the remnants of what was Tropical Storm Chantal. A flood watch is in effect for the potential of very heavy rain and local flooding later today. I'll track this system coming up next.
Policy updates at the Millville Volunteer Fire Company, what's been done since a hate crime was made public. Waiting on the water, Grove Park Canal dock continues to remain closed after months of talks and tests. Surging waters, shifting loyalties, deadly flooding, tests federal response as Musk stuns with new political party announcement.
This is Coast TV News Today.
Good morning, I'm Elisa Weber. Matt Pensick has the day off. It is 6:30 on this Monday morning, and if you are headed outside this morning, First Alert meteorologist Bob Trahey is going to tell you to wear your rain jacket, even though, Bob, the weather is not good for a jacket. It's so humid outside.
Oh boy, it's that air you can wear, Elisa, and make sure you download the Coast TV weather app. There it is right there, the QR code. We could see some flash flooding later today, and you need to get alerts if this happens, so make sure you do that. We are looking at a few light showers right now across southeast Sussex County. Not a big deal near Pittsville right now. We are seeing heavier rain across the eastern shore near Trapp right now, and maybe some localized flooding there, extending down a little farther south of there. As all this is moving from south to north, as we're watching the remnants of what was Tropical Storm Chantal now moving into Virginia, and it's moving to the northeast, basically headed our way as we go through the day. That's why I am concerned about flash flooding. By 2 p.m. it's right over Chesapeake Bay, and then after that the remnants will move right over us in the middle of the afternoon. That's why we have a flood watch for much of Sussex County. That means the potential is there for flash flooding later today. Also a flood watch around Salisbury and the eastern shore as well. Very warm and muggy out the door, mid to upper 70s and nearly matching dew points with that tropical air mass in place with light winds. Let's walk you through it. I think through this morning, we're okay, just a few light showers. But then as Chantal moves over Delmarva, the remnants, you see the heavy rain, and a lot of this rain coming down very, very heavy, maybe rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. The Weather Service is saying some parts of Delmarva could see 4 to maybe 5 inches of rain if you get under one of these really heavy rain bands, so watch for that. Here's our mowing forecast. I put it in the fair category the next few days because there will be dry times, but also wet times. More on that flood potential coming up a little bit later on.
Our top story this half hour, the Millville Volunteer Fire Company has made changes to its policies and offered new training. This comes after police say 2 former volunteer firefighters, Jay Droney and Jordan Hastings, chased a paid employee with a rope tied into a noose. Coast TV News reporter Zakiya Jennings shows us some of those new policies.
Gary Canitis with the Millville Volunteer Fire Company says changes were made immediately after the victim came forward.
We consulted with a number of different organizations to help us reform our policies.
Canitis could not show the training, but says
we've done harassment and discrimination, and then we did sexual harassment, two separate modules that they went through. Each one of those modules walks them through identifying what is harassing or discriminatory behavior. It walks them through what they should do when they find it.
This timeline provided by Canitis shows what led to these updated policies. On April 9th, allegations came to light and the Millville Volunteer Fire Company launched an investigation. On April 10th, Droney and Hastings had their memberships permanently revoked. On April 18th, the fire company offered new anti-harassment and anti-discrimination training. On May 6th, changes were made to the company bylaws and policies. On May 7th, sexual harassment training was offered. According to Conitis, by June 1st, 100% of the career staff and 2/3 of the volunteer members completed training. Conitis says the swift changes were made in hopes of avoiding a similar situation from happening in the future.
Public trust is a huge part of what we do. I mean, you have to know that when you have an emergency, we're coming. And you have to know that we're going to treat every single person that needs our services with absolute urgency and respect.
He says 2 new changes are key to handling these issues swiftly.
One is giving the board the latitude to work a little bit faster for particularly egregious incidents. And then 2, giving people more avenues and mechanisms to report when they see any sort of discriminatory or harassing behavior.
Conitis says the fire company will push forward after some reputation damage by remaining who they have always been, public servants. In Millville, Zakia Jennings, Coast TV News.
This just in, opposition to offshore wind could take center stage at a meeting in Ocean City tonight. According to the agenda, City Manager and Worcester County Director of Tourism and Economic Development will present what's titled Offshore Wind Opposition Campaign. This comes only a few days after a lawsuit against U.S. Wind's plans for an offshore wind farm in Ocean City was able to move forward. Ocean City's council meeting will take place at 6 o'clock this evening. New this morning, Rehoboth Beach weighs future of beach nourishment projects. According to the agenda, in just a few hours, city officials will hear several presentations on the topic. The presentations will discuss funding for beach replenishment, shoreline management, and the status of projects in the area. The mayor and commissioners will meet at 9 a.m. at City Hall. Also in Rehoboth Beach, the Grove Park Canal dock has been closed since February, when a study was released saying the dock's structure was unsafe. Since February, and after multiple meetings between commissioners about the dock's next steps, it still remains closed. But city officials tell CoastTV that a second study was done on June 30th to see where the structural damage currently sits. The city tells CoastTV the new results of that study are expected to be presented today. Possible options floated by commissioners are small repairs to temporarily fix the dock, completely redoing the dock, or taking it down entirely. The Milton Town Council is set to consider major changes to its rental property ordinance tonight. These changes would impact vacation stay places like those listed on Airbnb and Vrbo. According to the agenda, town leaders will discuss and could vote on a resolution asking the Planning and Zoning Commission to prepare an advisory report on ways to regulate short-term rentals through zoning. This town council meeting will take place tonight at 6:30 at the Milton Public Library. Possible tax talks tonight in Millsboro. According to the agenda, officials will discuss a hotel tax ordinance. There's no word yet on what the ordinance would require. However, officials will discuss the topic at the town council meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. Happening today in Sussex County, officials will look at several properties at its Board of Adjustment meeting. The Delaware Division of Fishing and Wildlife wants to use a special exemption for a rifle and pistol range. This is on Hunters Grove Road in Greenwood, and another on Riverbend Drive in Dagsboro wants to change its yards requirement. This meeting will take place at 6 o'clock. And we are now taking a live look at Washington, D.C. President Trump is back at the Capitol, pledging support for flood-ravaged Central Texas and planning to visit that area later this week. This while pushing back on questions about whether cuts to federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service. Some officials in Texas are criticizing the National Weather Service for underestimating the rainfall that led to that massive flooding. Around 80 people have died, more are missing, and the numbers continue to rise.
They did. I'll tell you, if you look at that water situation, this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
I know there are a number of important vacant positions, and that I and others have been asking for some time how this affects our preparedness here and ability to give alerts.
And the White House does say, quote, the National Weather Service did their job. Still more news to come this morning on Coast TV News Today. Coming up, deadly flood details. We go in depth on the situation in Texas and show you the damage. And champion Chestnut will show you the win at the annual eating contest over the weekend. Coast TV News Today will be right back.
It is 6:42 on this very muggy morning out there. Here's our storyline for today. Stormy conditions are expected. The remnants of Chantal will be building through with tropical downpours, and we could see some local flooding. Very muggy conditions as well. And then as we head into your Tuesday, steamy conditions with heat indices of 100 to 106 with some afternoon storms and maybe some damaging winds. I'll have much more on your forecast coming up in a few minutes.
You, Bob. Ocean City Police say they are investigating a shooting that happened just before 1 a.m. on Saturday morning. According to police, the shooting happened at the intersection of 28th Street and Philadelphia Avenue. Police say they found an 18-year-old man with a gunshot wound to his arm. He was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the man that was shot is not cooperating as this investigation continues. A heads up for drivers near Milton. Webb Road will be closed between Gravel Hill Road and Shingle Point Road next week. DelDOT says crews will be working on underground utility lines tied to the Four Winds Farm development. That closure starts Monday, July 14th at 7 a.m. and runs through Friday, the 18th. Joey Chestnut retakes his crown and another mustard belt. The 41-year-old won the 2025 nation's famous international hot dog eating contest after eating 70 and a half hot dogs in 10 minutes. This is Chestnut's 17th overall victory. Last year, Chestnut was banned from the event due to a deal he struck with the plant-based Impossible Foods company. And on Friday, competitive eater Miki Sudo won her 11th title at Nathan's famous international hot dog eating contest. The woman's world record holder ate 33 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That's fewer than the 51 hot dogs she consumed last year, but it was still enough to take first place. She earned $10,000 from a total prize purse of $40,000. Michelle Lesko came in second place and Dominica D took third. Coming up tonight on DSN, your game of the night at 6:15, it's Maryland Supreme Basketball League with live boys basketball. Then at 10:30, you can catch the final score. And over on the DSN Plus app, the games kick off at 5:30 with high school boys soccer at Crown Sports Center. Then at 6 o'clock, it's high school boys lacrosse at DE Turf. At 6:15, Maryland boys basketball at Maryland Supreme Court Basketball League. And here's a look at what's coming up this afternoon on Coast Life at 4.
We hope you enjoyed all the big bangs and beautiful fireworks on the 4th of July weekend. We're going to be talking about it coming up today on Coast Life. Plus, we're going to have a joke jar and Kendall Gordon getting out in the field for a little taste testing at Ponchos and Lefties. And also, you know her fashion. I'm not going to tell you her name yet. I'm going to have a special guest host, a guest co-host today. So tune in at 4 for Coast Life.
Kind of a cool looking sky right now, looking very tropical on the Gutter Helmet Cam, 77 degrees as we await some heavier rain from the moisture from Chantal, which could cause some flooding as we go into the afternoon hours. There is a yellow alert for that potential. I'll talk about the impacts of this system coming up in 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Time is now 6:48 and we are taking a live look outside at Laurel this morning. And Bob, today is a good day to download our Coast TV News and Weather app because although it looks sunny in Laurel right now, that might be a different story later today.
Yeah, we are concerned about flash flooding perhaps later today, Elisa. So yes, now is the time to download the Coast TV Weather app indeed. And there is that QR code on the screen right there to do that, because if we do get a flash flood warning this afternoon, you will be alerted on there. And we have that potential as we are looking into the afternoon. We're seeing the remnants of what was Tropical Storm Chantal moving through. We could be looking at downpours, local flooding, maybe at least 2 to 3 inches of rain in a short period of time, and very muggy conditions. Then Tuesday, it's hot and steamy, heat indices as warm as 106, and maybe some severe storms into the evening hours. But for today, it's a flood watch across much of Sussex County, excluding the immediate coast. So Selbyville up 113, Highway 9, and 13. Watch out for the potential of flash flooding later today. The same for Salisbury and a part of Wycomico County and back to Dorchester County as well. And the Eastern Shore also under this flood watch until this evening for that potential of flash flooding. We definitely could see that this afternoon. Very light sprinkles now across Sussex County around Millsboro and Gumboro, maybe around Ocean Pines. Not a big deal there, but heavier rain across the Eastern Shore from Easton down to Trapp, and probably some local flooding in that area. You've been seeing the rain for a while as it's moving from south to north, and that's around Chantal. And you can see the distinct swirl here as it's moving into southern parts of Virginia, and it'll be moving to the northeast and basically right over the top of us later today. That's why I am concerned about some flash flooding, as it is tracking right over Chesapeake Bay around 2 p.m. and then after that right over the rest of Delmarva. And it'll be very muggy as well with Chantal, and even after that very humid to miserable right through the rest of the week. Out the door right now, it's very warm, mid to upper 70s, and dew point temperatures are rough into the mid to upper 70s, making it feel like that air you can cut with a knife. We have a light southerly breeze. It's not the wind we're concerned about today. Of course, it's the rain. And I think through the morning hours we're okay. But then as Chantal makes its way into the Eastern Shore, very heavy rain breaks out mid-afternoon. Then that moves into Sussex County from Seaford back through Millsboro and Milton. You can see the orange and red colors indicating that torrential rain around 5 o'clock. And that's why I'm concerned about flash flooding at that time. But then by 7 o'clock, it looks like Chantal and the remnants are moving offshore. And then we're looking at, well, drier conditions overnight, but still very steamy as temperatures only fall into the mid 70s. And then Tuesday is a hot day. By the afternoon, we're into the mid 90s, scorching temperatures and feeling hotter with the humidity. And then we're looking at more storms moving in through the evening hours, and that could spark severe weather as we go into the evening. So a marginal chance of severe weather tomorrow evening, damaging winds, maybe local flooding again, and maybe some hail as well. Very active weather. Ahead of the storms, feeling as hot as 106 as we go into tomorrow. And it doesn't end there. We're looking at a stationary front right over the top of us Wednesday through Friday. And with the stalled out front, there's always that chance of localized flash flooding with more showers and storms. So we could see at least 2 or 3 inches of rain today in many places. And then by Thursday, a lot of places could see up to 4 inches. So really be careful out there. Paul Davis, 7-day forecast. A yellow alert today for that flash flood potential this afternoon. 94 on Tuesday, evening storms, and then on and off storms, I think, basically through the rest of the week into the weekend. Won't be raining all the time, but that rain could come down hard with mid-80s Thursday right into the weekend.
In Central Texas, the tragedy from what's described as a 100-year flood is still unfolding this morning. Heavy rains raising the level of the Guadalupe River more than 20 feet in just 45 minutes, creating a wall of water that ripped apart everything in its path. At least 80 people died, most swept away in that raging current. And NBC's Jay Gray shows us how officials warn that number will grow today.
Like the floodwaters tearing apart the Texas Hill Country, the rescue and recovery effort here is relentless.
That is where our energy, our resources, and our attention are directed. Nothing is more important than bringing comfort and clarity to those who are waiting and grieving.
Hundreds of first responders working around the clock, going into the 4th straight day now.
The Department of Public Safety is offering any and every resource that we have to help with those searches, whether it be boat teams, rescue, divers, helicopters, drone operators, drones.
High-profile military vehicles, thermal and night vision technology, crews combing the strike zone on foot, others on horseback. This team uncovering the body of a young victim in the debris.
We decided we should look in that spot a little bit more before we went back down, and that's when we found it.
We covered her with a towel.
At least 80 are dead. Dozens still missing, including a group of young girls and their counselor from Camp Mystic.
I think while it was going on, I kind of felt like a sense of numbness.
13-year-old Stella Thompson escaped. She and a group of fellow campers led out by the National Guard through debris, overturned vehicles, camp gear and clothes littering the trees, rescue divers in the water.
Saying it out loud is making me realize what actually happened and how bad it actually is.
A realization so many in Central Texas are struggling with right now. Jay Gray, NBC News, Kerrville, Texas.
It is 6:54 and it's time to check in with our coastal pet of the day. And today's coastal pets of the day are on duty. As you can see, Savannah and Harper are keeping their neighborhood safe by watching for any danger. These patrol pups were submitted to us by Helen and Steve in Milford. We want to see more of your pets on Delmarva. Send us photos and tell us what makes them so special. You can take a look at your screen, scan the QR code at the top of your screen to submit your furry friend to Coast TV News. Then watch weekdays from 5 to 7 a.m. to see all of the pets we feature. It is 6:57 and we are going to take another look at your forecast before you head out the door. Bob, today's weather much different from this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Watching for that flood potential this afternoon. Right now, the heaviest rain is across the eastern shore. We are watching Chantal, the remnants of it across Virginia. It'll be tracking right over the top of us later today. That's why I'm concerned about flash flooding. So I think we're mainly dry this morning. Then this afternoon, be vigilant for the potential of flash flooding, maybe at least 2 to 3 inches of rain. Paul Davis, 10-day forecast. We're looking at 94 on Tuesday, maybe severe weather into the evening hours, more on and off showers and storms as we go through the rest of the week into the weekend, and highs in the mid-80s.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you for joining us here for Coast TV News today. Have a great day, everyone.